station of your choice. We took the lead among all radio stations. Emirate Radio, the station of your choice.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the daily newspaper review on Emirate Radio. We are located behind Federal Ministry of Environment. And with me,
I am Ali
paper
and Daily Trust newspaper.
Before we go into the stories, let's go on the commercial break.
Lead among all radio stations. Emirate Radio, the station of your choice.
Welcome back. On the Punch newspaper, the headline here says, "Don't pit Senate against Tinubu, Akpabio wants minister."
And on the Punch newspaper as well, FCT Chief Judge frees 30 awaiting trial inmates in Kefi prison.
On Daily Post newspaper, reps give Benue Zamfara governors 1 week ultimatum to honor invitation.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Lagos Muslim communities facilitate Catholic on new Pope.
On Daily Trust newspaper, why we perform poorly, says candidates.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Abia to turn new government house into 5-star hotel.
Still on Punch newspaper, Tinubu Trump, world leaders congratulate American Pope.
To the Daily Post newspaper, examination malpractice, Kaduna Polytechnic expels 63 students, suspend orders.
On the Guardian newspaper, court remand monarch for installing himself without government authorization.
On the Daily Post newspaper, Nigerian's government give update on extraditing Simon Ekpa from Finland.
Still on the Guardian, Akpabio slammed Peter Obi for saying Nigerian heroes labored in vain.
I'm still on the Daily Post newspaper, economic reform to avert collapse, not punishment.
Also here with me on Daily Post, our target is to reduce out-of-school children population. UBEC.
On the Nation's newspaper, a governor must know when to talk and act.
On Punch newspaper, I don't want to die with, says Big Gates.
And on the Daily Trust newspaper, electricity crisis, how poor power supply is affecting healthcare.
Okay, let's dive into the stories. On the Punch newspaper here with me, don't pit Senate against Tinubu, Akpabio wants minister. The Senate leadership yesterday cautioned the Minister of Defense, Muhammad Badaru, against making public statements that could create friction between the National Assembly and the executive led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The warning came after Badaru publicly dismissed a planned 2-day national security summit by the Senate, stating that such gatherings were unnecessary in addressing Nigerian security challenges. Speaking at the plenary, Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senate leader Okoyemi Bamidele criticized the minister's comment, warning that such remarks could undermine legislative initiative and strain relations with the presidency.
On the Punch newspaper, FCT Chief Judge frees 13 awaiting trial inmates in Kefi prison. The Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, High Court, Justice Hussaini Baba Yusuf, has discharged at least 30 inmates awaiting trial across the 2 custodian centers in the Kefi local government area of Nasarawa State. The intervention was facilitated by the Public and Private Development Center, a non-governmental organization in collaboration with Yusuf Baba, who discharged the inmates during an official visit to the Medium Security Custodian Center in Kefi yesterday. Correspondents reported that out of the 30 inmates discharged, 24 were from the Kefi Medium Security Custodian Center, while 6 others, who are female, were from the Kefi Old Medium Security Custodian Center. Speaking with newsmen at the end of the visit, Baba Yusuf said the visit was aimed at ensuring that those who do not are allowed to enjoy their freedom. He assured that the exercise would be a continuous one, with visits also scheduled for the Kuje and Suleja custodial centers to ensure that those who shouldn't be detained in the correctional centers are set free.
This Nigeria
is a very wonderful
you see people
decision.
that are not supposed to be in prison are there now. Some people are
this is a very, very nice one. I mean, if they are doing proper visits, the innocent will get to be free, and they will not be serving punishments that they don't know about.
Okay, on Daily Post newspaper, Rep give Benue Zamfara governors 1 week ultimatum to honor invitation. The House of Representatives has issued a 1 week ultimatum to Governor Ayasit Alia of Benue State and Governor Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, alongside the leadership of their respective states of House of Assembly, to appear before its Committee on Public Petitions. This followed the controversial suspension of several lawmakers in both states. The ultimatum comes after the failure of the invited parties to attend the hearing held yesterday at the National Assembly in Abuja. The committee is investigating a petition submitted by the Guardians of Democracy, a coalition of lawyers, over the alleged unlawful suspension of 13 lawmakers in Benue and 10 in Zamfara since February 2024. The petition, sponsored by Deputy House spokesperson Honorable Philip Adbese, was formally presented on the House floor on March 27th. At the committee inauguration sitting yesterday, Honorable Douglas Akia Makodi South led the group of suspended Benue lawmakers, while Honorable Aliyu Ango Kangara and the minority leader of the Zamfara Assembly represented their affected colleagues.
Still on the Punch newspaper, Lagos Muslim community facilitates Catholic on new position of the new pornofit for the Warner's tax. The news agency of Nigeria reports that Cardinal Robert Prevost was elected the 267th Pope yesterday. He adopted the title Pope Leo 14. In a congratulatory message today in Lagos, the Muslim community chief imam, Professor Amidu Sani, said on behalf of 4 billion Catholic faithful on the successful selection of Cardinal Robert Prevost as the 267th Pontificate. This is a very nice one. Congratulations to the new Pope.
Congratulations to him. On Daily Trust newspaper, we perform purely, says the candidate. Amid outcry over low performance on the just concluded Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination (UTME), candidates have added their voices to that of parents, individuals, and stakeholders, while expressing optimism to be among the best. The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board (JAMB) released the detailed performance report of the 2025 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination on Monday, revealing that more than 1.5 million candidates out of 2 million candidates who sat for the examination scored below the 200 minimum admissible mark for university admission in Nigeria. This has continued to generate reaction from different quarters because most universities and courses require a score of 200 and above for students to gain admission, despite the admissible cutoff mark pegged at 140. Some candidates who spoke to newsmen have attributed the low performance to inadequate preparation and inability of some of them to manage time well. Failure to... I feel like they failed to prepare for the exam. So
yes, the time for the registration was far from the time of the examination, so they had enough time to prepare. Preparing for everybody. I feel like everybody that is in the university now wrote JAMB, and you know at the back of your mind that before you can write JAMB, you have to be fully prepared. That's why they made this mock stuff available for people, like a medium of preparing
for the main exam.
So I feel like if they had prepared well and if they had did the necessary, there wouldn't have been all of this Still on the Punch newspaper, Abia to turn new government house into 5-star hotel. The Abia state government says it will convert the proposed new government house at Ugunrobe layout Umaya into a 5-star hotel. The Commissioner for Information, OK Kano, said this during a media tour of the site yesterday. Kano also revealed that a new governor's office and lodge will be built at the current government house complex. He addressed claims that the current government house is rented, saying, and let me debunk another lie. Before now, they said that the current government house was a rented apartment, but it is not a rented apartment. The commissioner said that the building project, which was claimed to be completed and commissioned by the last administrator, is not liable and was never meant to be a residential building. So now, what they're saying now is that the proposed government house is going to be turned into a 5-star hotel.
They really make money there.
Really, they are going to make money out of it.
Okay, on the Punch newspaper, Tinubu Trump, world leaders congratulate American Pope. Facilitations from world leaders greeted the emergence of Cardinal Robert Provost Pope Leo as the 267th Bishop of Rome. Pope Leo was elected yesterday after the fourth ballot cast by the Cardinal in the conclave, which began on Wednesday. The 69-year-old Provost is the first American Pope in the history of the Catholic Church. He succeeds Pope Francis, who died on April 21, 2025. Pope, who is one of the religious order of St. Augustine, was ordained a priest on June 19, 1982 by Archbishop Jean Jadot at the Augustinian.
Congratulations to him. Heading to the Daily Post newspaper, examination malpractice. Kaduna Polytechnic expels 63 students, suspend others. The authority of Kaduna Polytechnic assesses the disciplinary action which were approved during the institution's 114th academic board meeting held on April 30, 2025, stipulated the offences to include fraudulent admission and examination malpractice. In a circular date May 5, 2025, and signed by the Deputy Registrar, Academic Affairs, Abdullahi Mohammed, it was stated that the Polytechnic Registrar, Mohammed Tanimu, communicated the board decision to all staffs and students. He said that the academic board at its 114th regular meeting held on April fraudulent admission and related matters investigation committee and the examination misconduct cases and malpractice committee, approving the following measures.
It is now common in
is very common in universities, but I feel like when students knows that your school does not agree or does not go with examination malpractice, why not prepare very well before going for the exam and do your best in it? I mean, there's a saying that carryovers are meant for students. It is students that are the owner of. You cannot expect your lecturer to have carryover. Carryovers are meant for students. When you've done it before, you fail. If you do it, it will be better and it can even help boost your GP. So there's no point in engaging in examination malpractice. That 63 students were now expelled
and
they suspended 37 too. That's weird.
Alright, on the Guardian newspaper, court remand monarch for installing himself without government authorization. The Chief Magistrate Court sitting in Akure, Ondo State capital, yesterday remanded a self-imposed monarch, Adekolajo Aladesheyi, 67, for alleged unauthorized installation as the traditional ruler in Ijare, Ifedore local council area of the state. Aladesheyi was arraigned along with two chiefs, Fashowe Lawrence, 63, and Adebimbo Akanle, 63, on a 3-count charge of conspiracy, unlawful installation, and conduct likely to cause a breach of public peace following their purported participation in the installation of the Ojujare of Ijare without the consent or approval of the government. The Ojuja Arresto became vacant 4 years ago after the passing of Oba Adebamigbe Oluwagbemigun. The suspects were dragged before the court by the police, with the prosecution informing the court that their action was capable of causing unrest in the agrarian community as well as violating the state chieftaincy laws. The man really just put himself in that seat without the government's intervention, no government order.
He felt like he's the one that is next
He's
to
the next
it.
person to it.
Still on the Daily Post newspaper, Nigerian government gives update on extraditing Simon Ekpa from Finland. The Nigerian government has explained the self-acclaimed Prime Minister of Biafra, Simon Ekpa, will be extradited from Finland to Nigeria at the right time. The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Prince Latif Fagbemi, said Ekpa is currently being investigated by the Finnish government for terrorism, after which he would be extradited to Nigeria. Fagbemi disclosed this during a special event yesterday in Abuja, while giving an update on moves by Nigerian government to extradite Ekpa. He said Nigeria is already working with Finnish authority to bring him back for trial. Ekpa has been linked to the activists of unknown gunmen in Southeast, hiding under the detention of Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, to wreaking havoc in the region. In November 2024, Ekpa was arrested in Finland along with 4 others who were later released. His case is now with Finland's Deputy Prosecutor General, who will decide if charges will be filed against him there.
He's abroad and he's creating conflict in Nigeria. He's really doing well.
Doing well.
Alright, on the Guardian newspaper, Akpabio slammed Peter Obi for saying Nigerian heroes labored in vain. The Senate valedictory section yesterday in honor of the late elder statesman, Chief Edwin Clark, recorded a dramatic twist as Senate President Godwin Akpabio slammed the presidential candidate of Labour Party in the 2023 election, Peter Obi, for declaring that the labor of our fallen heroes are in vain. Obi had lamented during Clark Memorial Lecture on Wednesday that the labor of our heroes past are now in vain. He said, for somebody like me who had just been part of the 2023 general election, he lived a life of courage, a life of sacrifice, a life of justice, and a life that is valued. The solemn event was immediately turned into a section of rebuke for Obi, with Akpabio challenging him to force resolve the crisis in his small Labour Party. But Akpabio was in serious disagreement on the floor of the Senate as he took exception to Obi's remark. For the President of the Senate, the mere fact that Nigeria still exists as a nation is a pointer to the fact that the labor of our fallen heroes is not in vain. He charged Obi to demonstrate that he has the capacity to rule Nigeria by restoring unity to his party.
You see this statement that Akpabio is slamming Obi for? There was a news yesterday where Obi said that he was only telling the truth, not like he demarcates Nigeria, because Sanwo-Olu said the statements that he made is like demarketing Nigeria abroad. So then he came out yesterday and he was like, he's not demarketing Nigeria, that he was only telling the truth. And he said telling the truth should not be considered as demarketing Nigeria. Fine, he's telling the truth, but there are some certain truths that needs to be like shielded. You don't have to like open the country's secret outside.
Secret.
you don't have to. It's not necessary at all. Now, moving still on the Daily Post newspaper, economic reforms to avert collapse, not punishment. President Bola Tinubu says recent government policies are necessary interventions to prevent the economy from collapsing and are not meant to punish Nigerians. Tinubu, who was represented by the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Ahmed Dangiwa, stated this yesterday in Abuja at the 55th Annual Conference of the Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Value, NIESSV. It was reported that the conference theme was Transform, Invest, Drive Optimism, real estate finance, and taxation. According to the president, the administration is committed to dissatisfying the economic and expanding revenue sources. He said that this informed the government's drive to implement policies that enhance income from taxation while upholding fairness and transparency. The president stated further that reforms were tailored to create a more investment-friendly environment, particularly in the real estate sector, and to boost job creation and economic growth. He acknowledged the critical role of estate surveyors and valuers in achieving this objective and expressed the government's willingness to partner with NIESV to deliver effective tax administration and revenue utilization.
I think we have to stop here for today. For more in-depth on the stories, grab the newspaper.
Yes.
Once again, I am Mr. Isa.
And I am Alima Absalam. Do ensure that you have a wonderful Friday. So our Muslim brothers and sisters, ensure that you attend Juma. Don't stay in your house and say that, I'm going to pray next week. Attend Juma. Remember that the Prophet said we should wear our best clothes when it is time for Juma. Dress well, spray perfumes, and ensure that you go for Juma.
Thanks for listening. Bye.